All of us get up every day and decide what shoes to wear, or if we need a new blouse, we go, where are we going to go buy that, or why we need it, or what it means to us, or if we have an article of clothing that was passed down through a family member, or something that's just sentimental that you wore at a particular time. And all these things that you put on to sort of establish your persona to the world, and it's exactly what we do as designers. Costume designer's main role in a movie is to express the visuals that are needed that bring a particular person in a particular place and time alive. As a designer, you often have a chance to design in all different genres, and I've been particularly lucky to be able to do, period, contemporary, and a certain amount of fantasy and science fiction. It's amazing that the process, no matter how different the results are, the process is absolutely similar from film to film, because what we're doing is still designing something to create a person who lives in a particular place and time, whether that's 2,000 years in the future or 100 years in the past. Director of a film is the most important person to the costume designer, and I think to anyone on a film. On Titanic, Jim Cameron, one of the things he was really concerned about from the beginning was that Kate Winslet's dress for the drowning looked good underwater, because she was to spend so much time in it. And we did a lot of tests early on with different kinds of fabrics, because the visual of that was part of the cinematic storytelling.
The costume designer is responsible for what every single person wears in a film. For an actor, finding their look, I think, is part of finding their character. One of the interesting challenges about costuming a character like Bourne is that by his very nature, he's supposed to disappear. He's meant to be a master of blending. And yet I want him to stand out so that the audience can find him in a crowded scene. I had about 20 different styles of jacket. I knew I wanted something fairly anonymous, everyman, utilitarian, could go through different seasons, different countries. You wouldn't really give it the time of day. But I tried on with Matt. I brought about 20 different styles of things, and also a muslin for a jacket, because I was sure we would make it. We wanted about 30 of them. And as it turned out in that, it was the muslin that, after discussing the other jacket styles, we went for the muslin, and that was finding the exact right point, that he wanted his hands to be going into extremely deep pockets that could hide things. Details, in fact, that don't really show on the film, but to the actor were relevant.
The Hollywood Costume Exhibition came about from years of being a practitioner, working in movies. I've been working on the exhibition for 5 years. Doing it at the V&A, having Hollywood costume at the V&A, just feels absolutely right. I couldn't now imagine it anywhere else. Every single studio in Hollywood has contributed something to this show, so it's remarkable in that respect. I try to show the best work of what was available in each genre. So it wasn't for me ever about the clothes. It was really about the films that mean so much to people.
When I first met Deborah Landis in 2008, she was so incredibly passionate about this project and pulling this project together. And that's when we began work in early 2008, when we looked at where objects might be held, where were they? There's a really stunning dress and cape worn by Hedy Lamarr in the 1949 production of Samson and Delilah, designed by Edith Head. And the dress itself was owned by Debbie Reynolds, so in a private collection. And it was sold in June 2010 and bought by Paramount Pictures, ironically, who'd made it in the first place. And we were able then to borrow the cape, which is covered in 2,000 peacock feathers, from the Cecil B. DeMille Foundation. So for the first time since the film, we're reuniting the dress with the cape to make one complete object. The whole exhibition has been filled with these sort of treasure hunt stories of how we've sort of brought it all together. Many of our costumes and pieces and objects are scattered quite literally around the world. They're in museums, they're in costume houses, they're with individual private collectors who we're really beholden to. People such as Larry McQueen, who've been collecting film costumes for over 30 years, have just been absolutely essential to making of this exhibition.
I never thought that I would collect costumes. It was just I was always interested in theater and I was interested in film. And in the early 80s, all of these things were being sold in junk shops and stuff around Hollywood. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool, you know. So I started to collect, and I was at the right place at the right time before anybody cared what this stuff was.
Many people will come to this exhibition to see their favorite character, their favorite person. But I hope that they're going to leave with a much greater understanding of the costume designer's contribution to the storytelling.